Hey, welcome to Rabbit Holes with Aaron. I'm Aaron, 20-year retired Marine vet, and now I'm going down rabbit holes all day long, all different topics. We only know where we start. We don't know where we're going to end up. And today with me, I got Heath, who I was in a veteran fraternity with. It was called Omega Delta Sigma. Also at UNT, University of North Texas. We did some time there and had some fun and swapped a lot of stories. And so I asked him to be on my podcast for all of you. Heath, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? My name's Heath, and as Aaron said, we met at the University of North Texas. Had a great time there. We learned a lot, and again, sharing stories over cigars and scotch while going through classes was a great experience. So again, happy to be here. It's an honor, and again, glad that I can go down this rabbit hole with you. And as you said, you don't know where you know where you're going to start, but you don't know where you're finished. And I feel like that's a great line for life in general. So
yeah,
let's dive in.
Okay, well, you gave me a couple topics. You gave me gratefulness and men's mental health, and of course those things are greatly intertwined, but which one would you like to start off with and just get us started?
I think we should start with gratitude. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll start with the good stuff. Not that the other stuff's not good. Especially with the 2024 coming to a close, I think it's only fitting that we take a moment to stop and give thanks for all the great things that we do have. And then, how we tie it all together, just, with our day-to-day lives, with the goals that we achieved, that we wrote down. I don't know about you, but I remember the start of this year, I was at a Starbucks in Jacksonville, Florida, and whipped out my journal, and I wrote down a bunch of goals. And through some grit and determination and perseverance and a little luck from the man above, I was able to achieve almost all my goals I wrote down. So, again, right now that we take a step back to show some reflection, it's really great to see, again, the growth that we had. And then also to see, because now I live in the Lakeland, Florida area, so I don't even live in Jacksonville anymore. So, again, just, moving places geographically, but also spiritually, mentally, physically. So, again, it's nice to kind of, look through that lens of perspective and review of the year. And, again, see where you did really well, things that maybe did not so well. So you can, again, work to evolve and grow there. And again, I think that also just ties again in gratitude itself. So to know that you woke up this morning and you got a take on the day and see where things go, can sometimes seem mundane and tiresome. But again, any day that you get to wake up and give the world hell, I think it's a great day.
Yeah, thanks for that. And yeah, gratitude, man. I feel like I'm just beginning to understand gratitude, and it's a whole other world.
God, I can barely spell it, so yeah, I'm learning it too.
Gratitude. I mean, for me, it started, well, it's been a lifelong pursuit, but like a few years ago, I read a book, and it gave tasks every week to kind of unlock my inner artist. And one of the tasks was go find 10 pretty rocks. And I was like, this is the stupidest task I've ever heard of, right? I'm like, what is this doing? And I went out and I looked and I was like, well, that rock, when I really looked at it, I was picking up gravel, right? I was looking at it, I was like, okay, oh, look, like a triangle or something, right? And I'm looking at another piece. And then it occurs to me that I'm looking over an entire parking lot of pretty rocks. And that every rock, perhaps, is pretty. And I was like, and I can just go grab any one of them that I want for free. 10 of them. Nobody's going to stop me. Nobody's going to charge me money, right? And it's like all this beauty is available. And we don't even see it, at some level, or I wasn't seeing it, but my eyes were open and I was like, well, there's a lot of abundance out here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things. I mean, we're on a planet, I think I've said this before, where, it's not like we popped out of the ground in Mars or something and we better figure out how to breathe, and now we better figure out how to find something to eat. And now, no, it's like you pop out in a family, a network of people on a planet that is designed and already balanced to provide everything you need, and a lot of things you want, and then, for a second to take it down to a small level, like just tape two of your fingers together. You will soon be grateful that they're separated, right? Because this one your pointer finger does one thing, your middle finger does something else, even your pinky finger plays a part in the team, right? And it's like if you lose any finger, like you lost some capabilities, and so like I became grateful for like how my body was put together.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, I went down that rabbit hole a bit on my own, but yeah. So being grateful, especially with this year, and I've seen stuff on Facebook recently where people were like, "What's one word you can say about 2024?" And it's like awful, terrible. I mean, people are saying all kinds of stuff, right? And
People love
and
being pessimistic for sure.
yeah, so yeah, there's not a lot of gratitude there, but at the same time, I just hear that there's a lot of people hurting. And I think that's something we talked about before we started this episode was like, it's a season where for some of us, we're firing fireworks and everything's happy. And then for other people, it may be the worst day of their life. And so I encourage those people struggling to look at what they have and take an inventory and like make a list because you don't have enough paper. When you start thinking about your body and you start thinking about, go ahead, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. And again, one thing that again I started this a few years ago because I saw it on Instagram. But it's every week I write down. It's like a gratitude jar, and I just write what I'm grateful for. So again, I know some people do something like every day and everything like that. But again, just to and I've actually never read them. I just have stockpiled them maybe one of these years because I've got two jars. So I'm gonna be going into 25, and I'll do the same thing. I told him my friend could have them once I go to the other side, so she could see all the great things I was grateful for. But again, with my new job that I have and the new opportunity, again, being a firefighter, you do a lot of different calls and you go to a lot of different places. Within the zone that I'm in, we have a lot of like nursing homes. And so we'll go in there and again, you have your elderly there. Obviously, there's a lot of, sickness and illness and, things like that where people were not as once strong as they once were. And right. But again, as perspective, I'm able to come in there healthy as an ox, able to provide a service. But you look at some of these people and it makes you just think because they're not living, they're just existing. And again, not
Mm,
that it's their fault, right? They're just at the end of their life and their family has put them there or they put themselves there or what have you, right? So again, they have a roof above their head, they have someone to watch after them until the big man upstairs pulls their number, right? And again, that goes for all of us. But again, when you're younger and you're able to move around and you're able to do things, it just reminds you like life is so short and it can go by so fast. And if you play your
yeah,
cards right and you live long enough, like yeah, you might be the old person in the wheelchair going down the nursing hall, out, hallway and everything else. But maybe you're not. Who knows, right? But again, that's the exciting thing of life because when you wake up and you step outside the door, you don't know what that day is going to hold. Again,
yeah,
for my line of work, it's more zoomed in because like we respond to car accidents, you respond to all these things. For some people, like they've never seen a car accident, or a fatality,
yeah,
or anything like that. Which again, that's okay, but like that is a part of like our life. And so again, just having that perspective of just that reminder to if you want to do that podcast, if you want that job, if you want to move to Florida and you want to live by a beach, do it, right? Like you only get one shot at this. And so it's just that reminder. Now, obviously, don't, put all the life savings on red on roulette and then just be like, wow, I was living. Like, well, right,
yeah,
let's be a little smart there. I've seen some people do that and they win. You're like, man, well done. But if you lost, you're like, dude, that sucks.
yeah,
But again, the 30 seconds though, I bet you their heart rate was 190. I mean, they're living.
yeah,
But I mean, one of my favorite things again, being in Florida is like going to the beach, going on runs. But again, just like those simple things like you're talking about, like with the rocks and the pure beauty. I mean, just to see the sun come up. For some people, they're like, oh, the sun just came up. But you're like, but if you stop and like look at the just pure art that the good Lord is providing,
yeah,
people buy paintings of that, and you're just there in the moment. So again, there's just so much that goes on. So in our busy lives, and like you said, for some people, 2024 was terrible, and they lost a job or they lost a loved one, and things were rough. And then for some people, they were able to turn it around. They were able to pivot, and they were able to to win. It's different for all of us. So again, just to kind of share that momentum when you are winning to help others, but then when you're going through it, to not be afraid to turn to ask for help, for guidance, things
yeah,
like that. So again, like right, especially for like men, obviously, there's strong ladies out there who do incredible things, and God knows we need them all. But again, for just the focal point of men's mental health, like there is that just microscope on us all the time of having to provide and perform and do all the things. And
yeah,
so when you feel like you are in a dark room and there's no one there, just to know that, like, you know, to have that strength to, you know, reach out to somebody. Again, we can dive into that here in a little bit, but I think it all, again, just kind of comes back to like gratitude. And I feel like if you can practice it, because it's not something I feel like you can obtain, right? Like perfect,
Right.
you can never get
Right.
there, but your life will become better. And instead of the glass being half empty, it is now half full, right? And instead of being pessimistic, you are now optimistic. And just those little pivots, man, I mean, it just changes everything. And by no means do I live in like $1 million mansion and I'm like, life is great. Like, no, but like I have a roof above my head. I have food in my
Right.
refrigerator. You know, I have
Yeah.
my healthy body. I have people that love and care about me. So I always tell people I don't have $1 million in the bank yet, but what I do have is a wide variety of wonderful people in my life, and for that I am truly rich. So I'll say that until, you know, I take my last breath. But again, I've been so fortunate and so blessed to have great people in my life to be able to say that.
Absolutely. Man, you got a lot of good stuff here. I just want to tell you, keep preaching. Going back to the
Preach.
I know, right? Men's mental health. Like, I mean, it seemed like you want to talk about what some good ideas are for men's mental health. I mean, that takes me down a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Oh.
Like, recently they talked about how whenever you use a muscle,
Mm-hmm.
it puts out endorphins and what do they call it?
And dopamine and everything. Yeah.
They call it something, the hope molecule or something like that,
Oh, okay.
that is
Yeah.
pushed
I've
into
heard.
your whole system.
Yeah.
And it was like, and you know, I feel it, right? We're working out, we're running, we're doing, you know, we just got back from roller skating, and
The
like,
old roller
I
skate.
don't,
What a time to be alive. That was some fun times. Nothing like
you
listening
know,
to
but
ABBA while you're in your mid 20s, just skating in a roller rink and just doing disco moves. That's wonderful. It always makes me think of that movie, Man of the House, with oh God, what's his name? He's from Men in Black, something Lee Jones. But he's like
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones, yeah, and he's the head marshal, and he's looking after all the UT cheerleaders. Shout out to the University of Texas. Even though we're UNT alum, I'm a big Texas fan, so shout out to them and their great season. But again, yeah, he's just, you know, watching over them. But I remember like one of the things he lets the cheerleaders do is go rollerblade to have some time to blow off some steam, and they're rocking out to the ABBA. So when we were doing that, I was like, God, this is what this reminds me of. So great movie if you ever get a chance to watch, Man in the House.
Okay, okay, I'll take that. But yeah, contracting muscles, you know, and being a veteran, we really had no choice. It was like, you are in shape or you are out. I know the Marine Corps is really hard on that. The Navy's pretty good on that, and
Yeah.
Army not as good. Air Force, who knows? But
Shots
Space
fired.
Force, I don't know. Weight doesn't matter, I imagine, because they're just floating around somewhere, you know. But they have no mass.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, the firing of the muscles, and you might not feel good right away, but like you start feeling better. You start having new thoughts, you know. The thing nobody talks about, we're all worried about our heart and having a heart attack and cholesterol, and rightfully so,
Mm-hmm.
but we never think about what cholesterol is doing to our veins and arteries in our brain, and how well
Of course.
blood flows to our brain is how fast we can think.
Absolutely.
How many problems, how many solutions we come up with problems. So it's kind of all related.
It is, yeah. Strokes are a real thing too, you know. So just as much as a heart attack, you know, a stroke can, you know, take you out just as fast as a heart attack. And again, just trying to have that balance. And yeah, I mean, for me too, you know, with mental health and like exercise is just a big avenue that I utilize because, again, obviously for my job, it's super important. But again, just for mentally, what it does for me. And again, talking about, you know, the mental space and then, you know, contracting those muscles and just giving your body a reason to move. But then again, like I said, coming back to like the gratitude of like, I have the ability because there's some people who do not. So again,
Sure, yeah.
but you're absolutely right. And there's so much great that comes from that. But also, too, you think about it, like man has been around for, you know, a few decades, give or take, right? What calendar you're looking at? No, I'm just kidding. But again, like physical fitness has been a part of that since day one, right? With manual labor, hunting, you know, doing all the things. So obviously now we live in a society where we don't have the demand of like, I got to go out and, you know, kill a deer. So we have meat, like I go to the grocery store, right? We have these
Right.
luxuries. So now we have to find other alternatives to give ourselves that purpose of like, I'm going to go pick this heavy ass weight up and I'm going to put it down. Not because like, it's like to show off or anything, but it's like this allows me to exude the abilities that the great Lord above gave me, but also it helps me stay ready in case like for myself, if I need to lift a
Right.
patient out of a tight hole off a bed or what have you, right? To, get them to safety. And then
Yeah.
also, like I said, too, the mental aspect, because it just keeps me going. And I'm no doctor, right? Obviously, I don't know. I'm no pharmacologist. I don't know all the pills, but it just seems like we live in a society where it's like, oh, you're sad, take a pill. Oh, you're fat, take a pill. You can't get it up, take a pill. But if you just come back to diet and exercise, I promise that, again, because we've been doing this for quite a while, being a human race.
We got a little bit of data on this.
Yeah, right. Just a
right?
little, but like it just has so many benefits. So I just try to preach that to people because, again, like I'm a simple kind of guy, as I know you are. And so instead of like sit here and try to do all these extra things, just take control, get some discipline, go to the gym, watch what you put in your pie hole, and you will see the results that you want. And at that point, people will watch you succeed, and they're like, man, well, he didn't do anything crazy. All he did was have some discipline. He went to the gym. He had delayed gratification. He watched what he ate. He drank a lot more water. He put down the bottle and or the sodas and all this other garbage that they got out here. And then your body's like thriving, and you're like, man, and you just feel better. So when those hard days do come, you're not just like, oh, this was the worst day ever, and I look like a bag of hot shit, melted ice cream. And then right, you just compound on yourself. You're like, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. This is why these people don't like me. This is why she left me. Like all the things
Yeah.
get men caught up, and then they, do something that they regret, and that's why we have the issues that we have. So again, it's just trying to be like a voice and a light in the sense of like, hey, like you too can do this. By no means, or in my special from the regards of like fitness, and I'm no specimen of like that guy is just an Olympic athlete. Not even close. I wish I was. But I can go to the gym and pick heavy ass weight up and put it down, and I can move my legs at a faster pace than a walk. You know what I mean? So I think that
I get you.
that ties a lot into my mental health. And so again,
Sure.
I try to advocate that for other men and, again, women, because women go through, a whole bunch of other stuff. And again, like physical fitness is a great way to get out of that and, have a clear mind. And again, you feel great about yourself. No person leaves the gym pissed off. They feel great. You go to the gym pissed off, but when you leave, you're just like, I feel better. Even if it was a shitty workout and you're just like, that workout wasn't half the shit. It's better than no workout. It's better than you just say, now I'll go the next time. Like, no, you went. And those little tiny wins, right, they start to build. Then when you're like, you know what, I want to go run a 5K for my turkey trot with my friends, you're like, my body can do that because I've been working out and putting it through different types of exercises to meet the demand that I'm about to ask of it. So it's just, I think it all ties together like that. And again, having that perspective and having that level of gratitude and determination, again, it all intertwines. And that's what truly can help you have a great life. And again, that's not to say that you have your shortcomings like we talked about and hard years and, what have you. But I truly believe that is the key to success and the key to happiness. And then if you have that, pass it on to others so they can partake in it as well. Because there's nothing better than seeing like your friend or your family member like win. Like I know some people like they're like, I can't believe they got that car, that job or whatever. But like when you're genuine, kind of like we were talking about before the podcast and had you previously talked on your recent episode, like for me, like seeing your friend who's struggled or they were going through it or, they had a goal and then when they achieve it, like, I don't know who's happier, them or me. Like to see them win is just euphoric. But then it brushes on you. You're like, oh, I'm going to be like them because like I know what they did. Granted, they're special. Nobody's, they're not an alien from Mars, like you said. They're just a normal person who set out a goal. They woke up. They put their shoes on the same way that I do. They put their pants on the same way that I do. So if they can do it, so can I. And I think just having that reminder really helps people get over that hump of insecurity or shortcomings or whatever it is. And so it helps them win. It helps them feel good. It helps them keep going. And then by that, they give it to somebody else. And I honestly, truly believe that's what keeps this rock spinning.
Well, thank you. Like I thought of something as you were talking. Like I've seen it like on Facebook. It's just a picture, but it's got one line. It's got two lines right beside each other, and one line is completely full of people, and it has a banner across that line that says pills and drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other line says life change, and there's nobody in that line, right? There's nobody that says, at least in our society, it seems like that sometimes, right? Everybody's in the new kind of drug. Well, let's look at the warnings. Well, you bleed out of every orifice and you throw up, and that's only in 30% of the people. And I'm like, what is this drug for? Does it do something useful, And so we have all these kind of new drugs and all these new, treatments, and then the old drugs, the legal and illegal ones, and people want to choose that route. And, and it's easier, I guess. I mean, I guess it's easier to throw a pill in your mouth than it is to, well, I think I'm going to go walk for 30 minutes. I'll have to set a timer. Well, it's not really that easier. It's like the old saying, well, it seems old now, but it's not that old. Pick your hard, right? Marriage or divorce. Pick your hard. They're both hard.
Yeah.
Fitness or dying in your lazy boy. Pick your hard, because both of them are going to be hard. Both of them are going to suck.
Absolutely.
One of them you're paying a little bit in advance, sacrificing a little bit, like you were mentioning a minute ago, and you're getting, you're giving all these gifts to your future self. Like they say now that muscle is the gift you give to your future self. Like that's going to make you live longer and a better lifestyle and everything else. It's like work out a little bit, not much, low weight, high reps, go for a walk.
Absolutely.
Make them regular things, and man, it'll change, like you were saying, it'll change every part of every aspect of your life. And then you find people that are walking too. I mean, and you make new friends.
Absolutely.
And you start doing, I've heard the most healthiest place to be as far as other people is concerned is going to a 5K. Like everybody running, there's probably somebody, a drunk Marine showing up for it or something. But other than that, most of the people there are going to be, happy, healthy.
Yep.
Good
Supportive.
thinkers.
Yep.
Supportive, right? Clapping when you come across the finish line.
Absolutely.
But so there's a lot to unpack in there, and that's why I invited you on the show, because you give me so much stuff.
Well, I appreciate you. Yeah. And again, I agree with you. And going back to it, like I was saying earlier, if we have Amazon and all these other like delivery systems. So again, like there's so much instant gratification in the sense like if you want something, you can get it almost within. I mean, there's times where I'm like, oh, I need new batteries, and I'll order batteries. By the time I finished, doing whatever I was at the house or what have you.
At T-Code Hand-Forged Knives, every blade tells a story, starting with my dad's 1965 Fastback Mustang. The steel from iconic American cars, including that Mustang, lives on in each knife, crafted with precision and care. As a mechanical engineer, I combine history and engineering for unmatched durability. Every T-Code knife is hand-forged and comes with a lifetime sharpening guarantee. Want something unique? We offer customizations in design, etching, and coatings. T-Code Hand-Forged Knives, where craftsmanship, legacy, and precision meet. Find us on Instagram at T-Code MFG, and let's build something that lasts.
Coming off work, like the batteries were at my house. Like I didn't have to stop at the store. So again, having that, people were just like, well, it's almost like the Jetsons, they put the stuff in the microwave, it pops up and everything, but like we almost have a false sense of understanding and entitlement because we become so accustomed to the instant gratification. You're like, oh, well, having a good body and health, it should be the same because I take X, Y, and Z pills or whatnot. And it's like, honestly, it's not though. So to be able to have that mindset again with that delayed gratification and know like, oh, this is going to take some time and I have to be consistent. Just like with any great, relationship, you got to be committed, you got to communicate, and commitment, communication, and consistency, right? You got to do those three. And if you do that,
there you go.
Right? Hey, so if you do that for yourself, though, like you will eventually win. Like, or again, you'll have that. Or like one reason why I work out, and I told this to one of my lieutenants way back in the day because he was like, Jordan, why do you work out? And I was like, I work out for numerous reasons, sir. I was like, number one, I was like, what it does for my mental. I was like, when you feel good, you look good. When you look good, you feel good. I was like, they intertwine, they go hand in hand. I was like, number two, I was like, I like to, that self-confidence of looking good when, like, I can just put on a t-shirt and I feel like, a guy wearing an Armani suit. I can't afford an Armani suit, but I feel like, because again, my body's in a great physical shape that I look as if I have that same confidence and swagger. And then I said the last reason is because when I was a kid, I remember my dad and my stepdad, they were both very athletic. and we played sports all the time and everything. But they were able to beat my ass in all the sports, and they're in their, at that time, mid 30s, late 30s, 40s, right, and all that. So for me, like, that's why I stay in shape too, because one day, like, I hope to be, a great
Yeah.
father, a great husband, but I'm gonna beat the shit out of my kids in sports because there's no better lesson to teach them that nothing's gonna be handed to you. So if you want to beat dad and a pickup game of basketball or running a 5K, you better bring your A game because I ain't giving it to you. You're gonna earn it.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what we were taught with, again, growing up, or even like in the military. Like, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. But then you learn to be a good winner. You learn to be a good loser. Because again, when
Right.
you're a kid, you're a shitty loser because you cry and you're upset and everything, right? But when you lose an adult, you shake that person's hand. You're like, good game. Some of us are still kind of crappy winners. Depending on who I beat. If it's a stranger, I shake their hand. I thank them. If I beat my friend, I rub it in their face.
Right.
When I beat you in a 5K, I'm clapping for you, but I'm also telling you how fucking slow you are because I'm faster than you and I'm better than you. But again, that just is part of that competition because I know it's going to drive them to
Right.
be like, well, I don't want to hear Heath talk shit to me, so I'm going to get out there and run more. So next year when we were in the turkey trot, I can either be right there with him or maybe I can beat him. I'm still waiting for my friends to beat me, but
Yeah.
there's always people I'm chasing. Like, I do have one buddy. He's way faster than me, or he used to be. He's a dad now, so I'll give him some grace. But man, could that boy run. But again, like, you always have someone to chase. So that's kind of like my reason. So again, I know that goes to a lot of people. And I know for yourself, as you're getting a little seasoned, but to be able to still be active and for your kids and grandkids, like, to pick them up, like, there are plenty of older people in their late 40s, early 50s, and they can't pick up a potato sack, let alone their grandkids.
Right.
You know what I mean? So as you said,
Yeah.
having that muscle to down the road, that's why you do it. So you're able to have that ability. So again, it's planning ahead for the future and asking your body to be able to do things that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I got two probably big rabbit hole topics from that. And like one of them, well, I want to revisit what we're talking about physical fitness and stuff too. I mean, if you're going to make it work long term, then you got to find things you like to do that are fun, that keep you in shape.
Oh yeah,
Like me and Jill go country dancing,
love
we
that.
go roller skating. I mean, we just started a Couch to 5K program, and you know what I said to her to get her to start that?
What was
I
that?
was like, you're going to have grandkids pretty soon. Do you want to be able to get down and play with them? And she was like, okay, we're running Couch to 5K. She's never run a 5K in her life. Of course, I don't know how many tens of thousands of miles I ran in the Marine Corps.
Right, of course.
But yeah, we're starting slower than I've ever started before, and it's been fun, and it's been nice to run with her. And so find fun things to do, riding bikes or skiing. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I just completely agree with you. But again, like, that's awesome for, like, your relationship too, because now it's just an extra thing that you and her can do together and spend time
Right.
together. But then also, like, again, there's health benefits to that, right? It's not like you're going to the bar and you're throwing back the brewskis. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, we all love to have a beer or two with our friends and stuff. But again, like, overall, is that the healthiest thing for you? No. So for you to have another avenue or an outlet of, like, hey, it's gonna be Saturday morning, the weather's gonna be great, because again, I know you love to travel and God bless you, like, out there living the dream. But again, you earned it, so well done. But again, you're like, hey, it's gonna be really nice this Saturday, let's go for a 5K. But then you're like, you know what, we're in X, Y, and Z, or you're in Wyoming, I know you just came from there, and they have good elevation. You're like, let's kind of challenge ourselves and let's go a little bit further. You're like, because by going a little bit further, next time we're on flat surface, aka Texas, you're like, you're gonna be a little bit quicker because you trained your body to run a little bit longer at a higher elevation.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
to do that together, though, I think is great. But again, in fact, there's some people, right, they're like, I'm never gonna run a 5K in my life. You're like, that's okay, like, good on you, but you gotta find another alternative outlet for exercise. Because right there, I always joke, like, there's the people that run 5Ks at 8 a.m. and then there's the people that don't. So if you get
Right.
married into a family that runs 5Ks, or if you don't run, you're about to, because again, that's usually how that cookie crumbles. So
Yeah.
good. It's good to know that before you say I do. But anyways, that's that's another rabbit hole for another day.
We got marriage counseling and marriage 101. Yeah, we're hitting it all here.
Oh, that's what it's all
That's
about.
good. Yeah. The other thing I thought about was sacrifice, because we've been talking about a little bit of short-term sacrifice for long-term gains. And
Mm-hmm.
I recently read a book. It was 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson, and
Great
he
book.
talks about,
Great book.
huh?
Great book.
Yeah, you liked it too?
Phenomenal.
Well, yeah. So we're recommending it as we go here, but like he talks about how sacrifice, one of the good things that religion over the course of all humanity has brought us is this idea of you make sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, back then, back in the Old Testament days or whatever, it was sacrificing this sheep, you know, for I did something wrong to my next door neighbor and I've got to atone for it. And you know, and you make a little sacrifice. And what is that? Like that sheep is not one sheep. That sheep is however many sheep it has in his lifetime, right? You're really making a sacrifice. It'd be like somebody saying, "Hey, God wants you to make a sacrifice." I'd be like, "Okay, what is it?" He'd be like, "Your car." I'm like, "Oh." I mean, that's how significant. Like, there's so much I need a car for.
Right, yeah, 100%.
You know?
And you're just like, I can't do that. And you're just like, well, how bad do you want it, or how bad do you want to sacrifice this to get to the next level? No, you're 100% right.
Yeah, and then there's all kinds of sacrifices that we can make, you know, short term for long term gains. Obviously, that's where the whole idea of investment came in, and investment strategies is, you know, the smartest thing you can do is like, well, I'm just going to put a little bit of money away in a 1K so that one day in 20 years I can live like a king or whatever and go to Bahamas for my retirement. Yeah, you could get an RV and you can come alongside me. I mean,
I'm telling you.
I leave tomorrow for Southern California, but you know, we're going to be, yeah, thank you. We're going to be roller skating on the beach over there, you know, on the beachfront.
I spent some time in Old Sand Dog. There are some great places to roller skate there, but also, again, some of the best sunsets I've ever seen. And so, again,
yeah.
But that whole, southern part of California is very pretty. So, again, that's a great place to start your new year.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Sacrifice, one of my favorite scriptures, and I know you appreciate that. John is at 15:13, but, you know, no greater love than to lay one's life down for a friend. I know that's, I'm paraphrasing there. It's not the exact scripture.
That's fine. Yeah.
But I always appreciate that, too, because, again, you talk about sacrifice, and then, again, there's obviously different levels of that, you know, meaning of, you know, sacrificing for the future, you know, things like that, but also like sacrificing shortcomings or hardships, but for the betterment of others. And again, for you and I, and obviously all of our brothers and sisters from, you know, ODS and just, you know, veterans in general.
Yeah.
You know, we all were like, hey, I want to be a part of something, but also I want to be in a role that's going to help somebody. And then obviously there are plenty of people that we honor. We should honor them every day, but, you know, there's select few individual days on the calendar that we take time out to, you know, take a step back, raise a glass and say thank you to someone who made the ultimate sacrifice. Because, again, you know, you talk about sacrificing your car as, you know, equivalents of the lamb back in the day. And you're like, well, I want to do that. Like, who wants to, quote unquote, sacrifice, you know, their life? You know, a lot of people want to be moms and dads and, you know, all these things. But then in those situations, you're like, only one of us is going to make it out. And you're just like, well, it's you over me. Like, again, like I've never been in that position, thankfully. But again, there have been plenty of people that have, and they gave up, you know, their life so that others, you know, could live and prosper and things like that. So again, it all kind of ties back to that as well. So again, obviously you want to give a lot of credit and thanks to those people. Again, gratitude, because we do live in the greatest country ever to exist. And it's because of the men and women that built it to allow us to have these things. Every day that we wake up and go out there, I always get a nice little tingling sensation through my spine when I see Old Glory flapping in the wind, because you just know that there are so many people that wanted to be here to see that too, but they, again, gave up, you know, their life so that we could grow and prosper in ours. So again, just having that makes your day just a little bit brighter. Even if you're walking through the rain, or you forgot your coffee at home, or you get a flat tire, like, it's okay. It's going to be okay, because at the end of the day, so many people have gone extraordinary lengths to allow you to have shortcomings and not, you know, just absolutely, you know, fall on your face.
Yeah. There's a lot of second chances here.
There's so many, but again, too, you know, you got to earn that second chance too. So when you get it, you don't, as the kids say, you don't want to fumble the bag.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that before. Fumble the bag.
Yeah. I'm around younger people, so I'm trying to keep up with the lingo.
Okay.
Heard that.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. Like when we're at college, you know, and you're 10 years older than everybody, and you're also a little bit older than me. But yeah, just trying to keep up with the times. But again, I love as much as you do to sprinkle in some knowledge and some
Yeah.
older sayings and wisdom, because again, those are, again, they stand the test of time and they're there for a reason. So to share that, it's always fun.
Well, here's a fun story, right? I was like, hey, you want to go to Nashville or whatever? And you're like, bet. And I'm like, what? And then you're like, I'll beep that. And I'm like, what are you? Okay. You're my urban dictionary. You really are. I'm like, okay, so take me, what does this mean? I think bet means this. And you said that. And you're like, oh, it means this, this, and the other. You gave me a few synonyms. So I got to give that to you. Like, you gotta bring the old guy up to speed a little bit. Because, yeah, I'm in class at 45 with 20-year-olds, so I'm like, don't understand half of what they call English anymore, I guess.
Yeah,
But
no,
I made it.
no, you did. We all did, thankfully. But yeah, no, that trip to Nashville was epic. And again, shout out to Nine Finger Death Punch. I love that guy.
Yeah,
Hope he's doing well. But again, in that instance too, where it's like you look at your schedule and you're like, oh, I've never been to Nashville, and you're like, I'm gonna go with a good group of guys. You know, some people there's like, no, you know, you kind of wait for like the perfect opportunity. As you keep hearing, there is no perfect opportunity. Like either you go or you don't. You say yes or you say no. So we said yes, and we had a great trip. I don't think I've been back to Nashville since. I just remember us on Broadway Street, and I was just like, this is incredible. To me, it was almost like Vegas. Like Vegas is, you know, a lifetime experience in itself, right? It's so unique,
right.
and it's just so, the lights, the sounds. But again, to be on Broadway there in Nashville, you're just like, this is wild. And especially if you love country music like we do, and, you know, like you said, the old two-step and everything, like it was just incredible. And I'm so glad that we went.
I think I finally saw you in your mode, kind of, like up on the rooftop bar or whatever, dancing away, knew every song and like dancing to it, lip syncing it, and I was like, this is where he belongs. He needs to move here, you know, because you were
My
just fit
mode, yeah.
right in.
I try to keep that. Yeah, you can't just share that with everybody. You gotta share with the special people and have fun.
Yeah.
I karaoke the other night with some older gals, and they absolutely loved it. And again, people, you know, they're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna sing," and I'm like, "Give me the fucking mic!" Like, I am a terrible singer. I don't wish that on anybody. But when you're at a bar and you're having fun, there's nothing better, man. But again, some people are more comfortable in that position. Some others aren't. Not saying that,
Yeah.
you know, there's nothing wrong with those people, obviously, but for us, we just enjoy being in those moments where you're like, all right, I'm going to do this because it's going to make somebody else smile, and it's just who we are. And so, yeah, I love those opportunities because, again, sometimes like it doesn't mean anything to you, but like you'll see somebody, you know, down the road 2, 3, 5 years later, they're like, I remember when you did this, and you're just like, I'm so sorry, or just like, oh, I remember that too. Like, you still remember that? You're like, great, but
Well,
like,
we won't talk about anything like that on here, but
no, of course, yeah, I'm not gonna frame myself here. Who framed Roger Rabbit? But no, like one of my buddies, I went to his Christmas party for his work company years ago. Years. I think it was when I first met you guys in college. But to this day, though, he's like, yeah, I went to my work party. And he was like, where's the guy in the gray suit? Because that's all they knew me by. At the end of the night was the guy in the gray suit. Which, again, you're just like, you feel kind of honored, but also you're just like, how much of an asshat was I that night for people to be like, who's the guy in the gray suit?
we want to talk to him.
Yeah. Where is that guy now? What's he doing? Is he still alive? He is? How? But yeah.
Well, and you know, I want to take it back to gratitude for a second in this moment, because I think about, you know, you talked about being grateful for veterans, and especially for the veterans that died and gave the ultimate sacrifice, and I completely agree. And here's the thing about being a veteran is a lot of times it makes you more grateful, right? Because
Oh yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I wake up by a woman and not in a tent with 30 other staff NCOs and officers in Afghanistan, right? I'm like, this is great. You know, I walk outside and there's grass on the ground. And I'm like, man. And, you know, for you were on a submarine, you know, you didn't, like, there was no Walmart. You know, there was the ship PX, maybe, whatever's in there, you know, box of cigarettes or something. Probably not, because you're
Nope.
in a submarine. But, you know, but yeah, so it's like we've been in such austere conditions that like I'm like, this chair feels nice. I like this chair. I'm grateful for this chair because I sat in the sand or I slept in the gravel,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Yeah, so
Well, and too, like the friendships that you get from that, because as we love to call it, trauma bonding. But when you go right, when you go through that with those particular individuals, you just create such a unique bond. And again, I'm sure you talked to a lot of the people that you served with, and again, I've been very fortunate. But I talked to a lot of those guys. I actually just came back from West Palm, spending time with one of my buddies that I served with.
Yeah.
We have like a good little network, but again, like we all, we experienced and went through that together in the sense of like just learning and earning our dolphins and, our time in Guam and San Diego and Hawaii and just all this stuff. And, obviously we reminisce on those stories. And for some people, they're probably like, I've heard this story 15 times. I'm tired of hearing the story. But for us, it's just like, it's how we stay connected. And though we don't recreate some of those stories because, now we're older and a lot of those guys are married with kids. So it's, again, you evolve. But you remember like what was that foundation that you built on, like your friendship, and we just keep it going. And again, but it's funny too because like when we're in college, also we connected because like, oh, you're a veteran, I'm a veteran. Like we immediately have our own lingo, our own language, and to everybody else, they're like, who are these guys? What are they talking about? And again, I was very fortunate to make some good friends. But I remember like one of the friends I made. I remember she would just sometimes look at me and like ask, after I told a story or the way I would talk and stuff. She's like, "Who are you?" And you're just like, you have no idea where I just came from. Getting out of the military.
I'm an international man of mystery
right.
here. I've been on the 7 seas. Try to guess the better questions, please.
Well, yeah. Well, and again, not that you're like that cool, but it's like you went through such a very unique experience that no one else ever really go through. So when you're trying to, and that was the hardest part for me getting out. So again, to any of the listeners, they're like, you're going to get out of the military and try to get back into, normal society. Like it's an adjustment. It is not an easy, at least for me. Cause again, like you're so used to, again, for me, like I served with one woman the entire time I was in the military. And that was towards the very end of my, shore tour. Everything else, it was my boot camp, sub school, my time on the boat and everything, the shore duty that I was on, it was all guys. So again, you have a lingo. So then you go from that to you're like, all right, I'm gonna go into a classroom with, females. And then you're like, you're doing your group projects and then you're like trying to like communicate with them. And then sometimes they're like not doing something. You're like, hey, can you not be so fucking stupid? And they're like, what? You're just like, I'm sorry. I'm used to talking to people the other way. That resonates. Like, oh, so that doesn't resonate with you. That's my bad. Let me try to reframe this thing. Hey, can you please do your job so I don't have to do it? You know what I mean? So again, like, and there were plenty of times where, like I said stuff and they were like, just look at me. They're just like, what is wrong with you? You're like, I'm. So it took some time, and like I've definitely, navigated a little bit. So, but also now that I'm a little bit older, there'll be times where I'll bite my tongue more, or again, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna sit back and watch. But younger me, when you're in like that, a meeting or whatever, you're like, oh, I'm gonna let it fly because this is what we've been seeing or how we've been operating, and I'm not gonna just let it just grease over the skids or anything. So, but again, I think that comes with maturity and everything like that. But it's definitely, again, it's an adjustment because like you said, you go from being, especially you, like out in the desert, in the holes, in the trenches, and then you're going to go back to normal society. Like it is not as simple, and they do their best to try to like prepare you. But again, like there's, at least for me, like there wasn't a whole lot. And again, like it's all like trial by error, once you start to do it. So again, that was what was so great about like ODS for us, is because we had that outreach, that connection.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can be myself. I can talk normal. Normal and not be judged or just be like, just have the look of terror on your face. So you're over here dying laughing at our dark humor, and you're just like, oh my God. I'm like that gif of Robert Downey Jr. where he's just like, oh my God, like this is so nice. Like it's the best.
Right.
But yeah, to agree with you, like once you go through some suck, like you appreciate other people's suck because you're like, oh my God, like this was bad for me. I can only imagine for you. And the story I tell people too is we were in San Diego and I was standing on one of my watches and I was roving the boat and I was in control. And, we were over there in Point Loma, and that's not too far away from Coronado where the SEALs train at. Right. And so I remember I was having a pretty shitty day and I was like, I'm just going to look through the scope, see what's going on outside. It was a really nice day in San Diego, as most days are. And I remember I looked over the water and I looked over towards Coronado and I just saw those guys arm in arm, in the ocean, in the wake, just taking wave after wave. And if anybody knows about, the
SEAL training,
SEAL training, but just the Pacific Ocean in general, it's cold as shit. It's not warm. It ain't the Gulf of, it's not Corpus Christi water. Granted, it's probably a little bit better looking because the water in Corpus Christi is uglier than sin. but that water's cold. And so,
Yeah.
I'm over here like thinking I have a bad day, and I look through the lens, and I'm like, oh yeah, my day's not that bad. So again, like you said, it kind of comes back to that perspective and appreciation, because you're like, man, those guys are out there trying to become something that I could never be, and they're
Right.
just having a shitty day. And then you're like, you know what, my day's not that bad, and the rest of my day wasn't that bad. So I always like to try to share that, of just like, it is what you make of it. If it's your job, if it's your relationship,
Yeah.
friendship, right, whatever it is. But yeah, like you said, once you go through some stuff and you've sucked the suck, as some people say, you have an appreciation for it. So when you see somebody else, you're like, so
Yeah.
again, you're grateful. So
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times like I've talked to somebody and it was a younger veteran or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you were gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps? Okay, I can talk to you. You'll understand. Like you've been through some stuff, and I haven't been through probably even as much as them. They're getting blown up or IEDs, or another guy was in combat engineers, and EOD, and you know." And one time I talked to one of the guys, on man, thank you for what you do. I wish I was out there with you. It's the way it is in the Marine Corps. We're crazy, okay?
yeah, of
And
course.
I was doing your job, and he said, brother, actually, I wish I had your job. I wish I didn't have to get blown up and, see people die and body parts and all that stuff. So,
Yeah,
so yeah, we both, in that moment in time, I was like, well, maybe I just need to be grateful for what I got and not try and have somebody else experience or feel bad about what I got because of what they experienced. Because they just want to be like me and I just want to be like them. I'm like, well, let's skip the whole circuit here and I'll just want to be like me
yeah,
and not want to be like them anymore. Yeah, so it gives us a new perspective, you know. Well, shoot, we can go any direction with that. I mean, I'm thinking pain tolerance. Like, my 8 or 7 is just normal daily life, right? My 10 is like, okay, I probably need to talk to a doctor next week, because I was in the Marine Corps. And, when I got ready to get out, we were talking about transitioning, and they're like, okay, so, and it was the Marine Corps, we were all 20 plus years, getting out and transitioning. They're like, stop taking Motrin and then see the VA,
stop changing your
right?
side.
Well, no, I just stopped taking Motrin, and I was like, "Oh
That
my
was the
gosh!"
classic shot.
I
That
was
was the
like
classic shot.
limping in to see the VA, right? I'm like, "Well, I got pain here, I got pain down here, I got, I can't. I'm hearing ringing all the time. My feet don't work right." I was like, "Wow, I didn't know I was so messed up. I thought I was immortal or whatever."
No, that is the humbling thing, because you think you're Superman, especially when you're younger, and then depending on how you treat your body and what you go through, you're like, oh, I am not Superman. In fact, I am opposite of that. So, and then like you said too, pain tolerance, and that's just something, like if something hurts, but also like again, bringing it back to like the mental, like there are so many people that are going through so many things that you don't even know about or they don't share. So again, like that's their
Right,
pain, right? So, that's something just to take account for, and you hear like that old like kind of saying, or it's like, if everybody puts their problems in the middle of a table, they're like, a lot of times when you hear other people's problems, you immediately pick yours up. You're like, no, mine's not that bad. You're like, I'm so sorry for even thinking
right,
that. So it's just one of the
right.
where again, um, you got to be grateful for what you have, and also kind of grateful for the problems that you do, because there are plenty of people who have it so much worse. And not that you want them to, but it's like that's just kind of how life goes sometimes for people, and it's
Yeah,
their own challenges, it's their own trials and tribulations and things like that. So in those moments, you just gotta be like, you know what, again, like this sucks, but you're like, again, sometimes you're like, I know a buddy that has it, way worse. You're like, okay, my day's better. Like you're not trying to compare, but you're
yeah,
just like, again, you just try to keep that positive, edge, and it makes your day just that much better. And then all of a sudden, those other little things, dissipate and go away. And then you're able to
yeah,
focus on the things that you really want to focus on. It just makes you, I think, more effective, efficient, and just, better overall. Again, that's something that we can all strive to do, especially again going into the new calendar year, to try to stop being so negative in some areas. Like I am so terrible at negative self-talk. It's bad. Anytime I do something wrong, I'm like, you're so stupid, Heath. Like, this, that, and the other. People are like, oh, be kinder to yourself. You're like, no, like I need to do better. So that's something going forward that I'm going to try to do, because again, um, obviously you want to practice what you preach, because again, if there's one person people hate the most, it's a hypocrite. So don't be that.
yeah. Okay. Well, I find that most people don't like themselves very much, in my
That's also
experience.
true. But again, that's again, I feel like by no means am I what is that, a psychiatrist? People that do that, that's not my realm. I'm just kind of like a bro that likes to listen and just try to help people,
Yeah,
and make them laugh. That's more my realm.
yeah, that's powerful. Making people laugh.
Make the people laugh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we're getting close to the end of the time. Gosh, I think I have 5 more rabbit holes I want to go down, but I guess that's just the way it is. That's the name of the game here.
That it
But
is.
I appreciate you tuning in with me tonight, and
Absolutely. Thanks
um,
for having me.
no problem. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for all you had to say and all you shared with us and making us think about gratitude and fitness. You know, gosh, these are powerful things. Like, okay, let's put it in perspective. If a person really listens and takes this episode tonight seriously, I
Yeah.
mean, what are their predictions for 2025, right? For
Oh, absolutely.
2026? How does it look if they take mental health seriously and physical fitness seriously? I
Yeah,
mean,
I couldn't agree more.
right? I mean, like, here we go. Here's life change in a nice little, I'm not trying to sell snake oil here. I'm not like this podcast will change your life every minute you watch, but I mean, we're talking about some good things that are kind of seem overlooked, in my opinion. What do you think?
Absolutely. But again, too, for people just to know that there's other people out there like us, and just it's almost like, again, kind of, you talked about the hope and the muscle, but just overall, like, giving hope to people that they can turn things around, or hope that they can be better.
Yeah.
Just I think that's the beautiful thing of podcasts. And again, while like people having that opportunity and everything is so great, is because again, we live in a society and a time where you know you can't change the world, but you can change somebody's world. You can
Yeah,
have.
like a
Go ahead.
starfish savior, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I really appreciated his story and his sentiment on that, because I mean, it's so true. And again, because like there's people that have saved us, and if they meant to or if they didn't mean to, but again, just having a positive force behind everything that you do, like it's just going to be good for somebody, and sometimes it's better for others and whatnot. So I think that's just the goal. And again, for us, or at least myself, every morning when I wake up and I get out of bed, especially with like my new job and like new career field, you're gonna have an impact on people's lives. So when you go in there, you're just like,
Yeah.
you smile. Obviously, there's some situations where you're like, okay, I don't really have time to smile. We need to work. Like we got to help this person.
Right.
But then other people, you go in there, you're like, what's going on? You hear them, you talk to them, and you just try to provide aid. And then also the people that you work with, again, trauma bonding. I mean, you have these people who are seeing the same things that you're
Yeah.
seeing. So if you're able to provide that reflective light and optimism, be like, hey, it's going to be okay, we're going to get through this, like, yeah, this sucks, or we've been up all night or what have you. But again, in some people's like darkest moments, or in worst moments, they're calling upon us to be there for them. So to have that ability, again, is one, just a blessing in general, but two, it's just a true honor to be able to do that, because you just know that you're somehow, some way making an impact on that person in a positive manner. Now, where it's going to go and what it's going to lead to, you don't know, but that's not really your job. Your job is just to be. I like to try to tell people, like, I like to try to be a spark plug, right? You just, if it's for somebody you just meet for a day, or
Yeah.
a friend that you've had for 5 years, or a friend that you've been lucky enough to have for 25 years. Because obviously, life happens. We gain people, we lose people, people go different ways. But in that time frame that you were together, if it's for however long, but if you could help jumpstart a few things, that's something that I really try to do. Again, is like be the spark plug. Or as I have a friend say, she got me this nice sign a few years ago for a birthday of mine. It just says like inspire, and she's like, yeah, this is what you do for people. She's like, you inspire people, which is very nice, because I don't think I'm that inspiring. But again, to have that motivation to when you go outside.
Yeah. No, you can wrap up. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, so to
I was
be,
saying getting close. Go
yeah,
ahead.
okay, yeah, just to when you go outside, again, just to inspire people, and to try to be that jumpstart, that spark that ignites something inside them.
Yeah.
When my number gets called by the good man upstairs, I hope to him, he'd be like, the words to hear, are obviously, well done, my faithful servant, but just know that like
Right.
you had a good impact. And obviously there's people that I've, said terrible things to, and I've had my burdens to bear and my own faults and stuff like that. But again, just to grow and learn from those. And then for the next time it comes around to say it differently and to obviously act differently. So again, right when you get those second chances, try to make the most of that second chance.
Okay. Well, thank you, Heath. I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye. We'll talk to you later.
All right, Aaron, it's always been a pleasure.
Thank you for stopping by and checking out Rabbit Holes with Aaron. If you want more information, Rabbit Holes with Aaron is on Facebook, on Patreon. Check us out. Let us know what you think. Thanks.